Hello, YouTube. This is my number 2 episode of Sham Talks. It's just basically me talking to people, interesting people. And today I have a very interesting person. I am talking to Holly Van Voast. She is known across the world as the Topless Paparazzo. She used to paint a mustache on her face and go around New York City taking pictures with her camera. And she was arrested many times and sued New York City. It's quite a story. So I'm going to let her tell that story in her own words. And we're also going to talk about politics because she has a very interesting perspective. So thank you guys for watching. Let's talk to Holly.
Holly? Can you see me? Oh, there, that's it. Perfect. Yes, perfect. The only thing is I need to change the view because it's like we're side by side when we really should be, it should be kind of cutting back and forth. You know, so with,
so you can cut back and forth.
Yeah, it does it for you. It's great, but I just don't know
really?
why it's
wow,
suddenly.
I don't know. I thought you did that in like post or something.
No, I'm not that talented. Now it's maybe. Oh, that's it. There. That's it. There. I got it now.
You got it?
Yeah.
You got what you want.
I think so, Holly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's recording his screen.
Yeah. First of all, Holly, thank you so much for your patience and doing this. I so appreciate it. I love you. But so just to make sure it's okay to record this and put on YouTube and everything. You're not gonna sue me or kill me.
Everything is chill.
Okay, cool.
Because it's you, baby. I'll do anything for you.
Okay, thank you, Holly. So let's get started. Okay, so
let's get started. Woo!
Let's get started. So everyone who's joining us today, thank you so much for watching. Today I am joined by my first ever celebrity guest on Sham Talks, Holly Van Voast. Thank you so much, Holly, for joining us.
You're so welcome.
So Holly is all the way in New York. And for those of you that don't know, but she is the Topless Paparazzi. She is an icon. Look her up on the internet. She's literally, first of all, Holly, tell us about that in your own words. How did you become this phenomenon that we know you as of the Topless Paparazzi? And I understand also there was a lawsuit involved with New York where you ended up getting paid. Tell us about that.
Yes, I did. The Topless Paparazzi, I'm using paparazzo because that's, I believe, the singular, that was a character I made up, which I thought of as just sort of a wacky, funny character that was kind of New Yorky, where I had like a drawn-on mustache and I went around topless. I was documenting a drag scene in New York City that I really liked and nightlife there, and I just wanted to give it a little more like pep and oomph and just sort of, make it fun. And I had found out that it was legal to be topless in New York State since I think 1992. But in practice, I got arrested a lot because the police did not know that it was legal.
How many times did you get arrested?
At least 10, probably 12, 13
Holy
times.
Shit, 10 times?
There were 10 separate times in the lawsuit I had.
So you
but
sued.
That was, but we had to take that down because of different things that happened, like during different times.
But you sued.
I haven't talked about this in a long time, so I'm kind of like, what happened?
You sued you sued the NYPD, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, okay. I did. Because it was legal to do it, and it kept happening. And the thing is, most people who went topless at the time, because it kind of happened about the time when like the topless, like a couple other people started doing it, but they would only really do it in certain places that weren't like I did it everywhere. I did it riding the subway train. I did it in my deli in the Bronx. I did it in the Bronx, which is like, I was like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the Bronx. So I did it everywhere I could think of. One time I took all the transportation into Staten Island, and I did it, but I did it. I did it so many times. It was almost like it wasn't every day, but I did it so much for 2 years that the arrests started adding up, and eventually there was a lawsuit, which I didn't.
That's horrible. That's how traumatizing to be arrested 10 times. I mean, that must have been horrible.
It was. See, the thing is, like, people are like, "Oh, you want attention?" It's like, no, I was really just living out a nightmare, because it's usually a nightmare for people to think of being naked or topless in front of other people. But I was like, whatever, who cares? It's just, I'm just topless. Everyone's seen tits. I didn't, I didn't, it was just like, I'm Harvey Van Toast, like.
Well, I don't. You weren't hurting anyone. You didn't do anything.
I wasn't hurting anyone.
In my opinion, you should have never been arrested. I mean, I don't understand why there's a double standard anyway. Why can men take their shirt off and women can't? I've never understood that.
It's not really a double standard. It's more like people, men especially, seem to equate breasts with penises, which is bizarre because they have nothing to do with penises. But over and over and over, what I heard was, well, what if I ran around with my dick out? And I'm like, well, my tits aren't your dick, buddy. So I don't, like it's
men do tend to center all of their thought, I think, around their dick.
I'm just saying that's everything. What happened so much, and I did it so many times, and I did it not see everybody else was an activist. I just made up a character, and I made sure. I mean, it was weird because I had to walk a fine line between like just being a character and actually having to talk about it because it was a big deal at the time, which I didn't really want to do because I just thought it was like a funny character.
Well, it was at the time, this is about 10 years ago. It was in the news everywhere. I remember seeing it on every blog, everything.
Yeah, and it was a big deal at the time.
It was a big deal.
I was really like the first person who went all over the place. There's no one who ever did it as much as me. It was a nightmare.
Well, there's no one, I don't think there's anyone else that did it as a paparazzi either, but it's interesting to say that it was a nightmare for you and it wasn't, and I always, I guess this is a good segue into what I really want to talk to you about, because I think we're at such an interesting time in our political history in this country and just in where we're at. We have a new president now and everything, but nonetheless, there is a dynamic that you and only you have been discussing online, and I don't hear anybody else talking about it. But when I heard you talking about it, and I want you to kind of describe it in your own words, when I read your tweets and saw sort of what you were talking about, I was like, wow, this is right on. This is exactly a perfect analysis of political discourse and what's happening right now. So can you sort of explain in a nutshell what your theory is, whereas as sort of political discourse relates to domestic abuse? Because that's, my understanding of your tweets and your theory is that basically politics is a cycle of domestic abuse replaying itself. But I would like you, if you could, to kind of tell it in your own words and kind of dumb it down to the most basic level so people can kind of grasp it.
Okay. The easiest way I can put it is that I have reverse engineered an algorithm that describes both a domestic abuse, standardized abuse array of behavior that was also displayed prominently by Donald Trump and by Republicans, but it doesn't really, because it's a bipartisan gaming dynamic in politics, it's not recognized as a domestic abuse dynamic because that's usually one guy. But what happens is, just like one guy will abuse a woman, and in a domestic abuse dynamic, it's really about the guy drowning out the woman with tons of generated conflict and chaos that escalates because the guy is doing something called win looping. And that's a term that I coined to describe a certain form of shutting a woman down with different comments and stuff. And it really, it's like when a guy sort of sees that he's wrong, he'll and he can't make any points because he knows he's wrong, he will start branding the woman as, you're just doing this or that, or you just hate men, or it's never like another point. You understand? It's never like making a valid point. It's just branding the other person as something or other. So someone else will see and go like, oh, she's just something or other, or this or that. And
sort of like gaslighting. Is that similar to gaslighting?
Sort of. It's really about branding. You know what I mean? Like branding someone as like a hater or stupid or an idiot or all sorts of different things. Instead of a point. You know what I'm saying? It takes the place of a point. Wind looping is like an escalated form of a conversational pattern that men take when dealing with women as a woman-to-man relationship. But the Republicans have tended to become, and this is a new dynamic that has been developed, not consciously, but what we're seeing is that the Republican Party is turned into the male proxy party, meaning it stands for men, like Donald Trump was a proxy for men, abusive men. And the Democrat Party, as we've seen in the Democrat primaries last year, has turned into the inclusive party, which means Black people, gay people, trans people, women, pussy whipped guys, anybody except like a totally like guy, like uber guy. And so that becomes,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say really quick that it's interesting to see that same dynamic that you're talking about with Donald Trump and Joe Biden play out in people's private conversations. Like I see
it's the same exact dynamic that I have reverse engineered as an algorithm. It's 100% viable. I've actually, I'm just going to say this because it's like there's a AI, artificial intelligence algorithms, and the newest one that you heard a lot a month or two ago involving Musk and different AI people called GPT-3, which is like cutting edge AI. But I know what's wrong with it because I've reverse engineered how to really replicate human naturalistic human conversation.
What does that mean, reverse engineer? What does that mean?
I take what is out there and boil it down algorithmically to its smallest
kernel. An algorithm is a repeating thing.
An algorithm's like a formula.
Okay.
So I've taken common conversational patterns that can be seen everywhere on Facebook and in public and anywhere. And I've figured out the formula at the bottom of these.
I see. Patterns. That's very interesting. And does it play out the same every time?
Every time. This is completely viable. I'm not using these terms lightly, that I know what's wrong with GPT-3 or any of the newer AI systems, because
what is GPT-3 and AI systems?
GPT-3 is the newest form of artificial intelligence where you can sort of ask like a computer a question and it'll answer it, but it doesn't have my algorithm in it.
The domestic, and what do you call this? Is this called the domestic violence algorithm?
No, it's just the domestic abuse part is sort of included in the algorithm I have.
Is the domestic abuse party referring to the Republican Party?
Well, it's really just, see, the thing is, what happens is when you have a domestic abuse dynamic with two people, it's the guy generating a lot of chaos and noise to drown out the chick. So everyone's like, well, the guy's doing this or the guy's doing that, or, the guy's doing this and you should do this because the guy's doing this and that. In the political spectrum, the chaos is generated by both parties, by men on both parties, because men generally would just rather talk about guys and fight with guys. And there's also, and my algorithm also takes into account what I would call women who are PMAC, which is PMAC, which is pathological male approval concerns. So they are taking their cues from men, like the Republican women tend to take their cues from the men in the party because they are leading the party, the Republican Party. I don't think it's such a stretch to see that Donald Trump was basically a very abusive guy. And this has been confirmed by other guys, even. Like,
well, what I want to talk about a little more, you said pathological male approval.
Concerns.
And that's where
a woman
is seeking the approval of a man.
Yeah, I want to be on the man team because the man team's winning.
And I see that a lot. It's funny. I see that dynamic play out where there will be this idea that one side is right and the other one is so stupid. And then everybody jumps on this, kind of like train of calling everybody else stupid because they want the approval of the more dominant
gaming dynamic. It's a gaming dynamic that really has there's never going to be any solution found with the bipartisan gaming dynamic because it's really all about gaming. It's not about finding a solution. Right. It's about gaming. It's like, I win. And then it's like, no, I win. And then it's like, no, I win. No, I win. I win. I win. And that's all we're really seeing now online is So
do you think the bipartisan system is based on that algorithm? And do you think that there's no sort of hope, in politics as long as we keep playing out this dynamic? Or hope for us to make progress, I guess, as a country?
The dynamic we're seeing developed in the bipartisan system is a new dynamic that was triggered by Hillary Clinton getting too close to being president. And it's triggered a lot of guys on both sides. And, it's just it can only escalate because of male win looping patterns. And this is proprietary, so I can't really talk about the underlying algorithm that I reverse engineered, but it's really just gaming. It's really just like two teams. It's like the Bloods and the Crips, or the, like Cowboys and Indians, or any team. It's a sports team. It's sports. And it's really just like a guy going into the other room when he doesn't like what a chick says and watching sports because he can win. It's like something. That's a good way to put it. That's exactly what it is.
It totally is. And it's both guys wanting to win. It's exactly what you said. It's a competition.
So that's all you're seeing is both guys win looping,
right,
and leaving the chicks in the dirt. Or just like Joe Biden is okay with the women being in the number 2 position, like most guys. And it's just, and it's just going to get worse.
Isn't that weird that we live in supposedly like the most progressive, free-minded country in the world, and we've never had one woman president out of 46 now presidents? I cannot understand that. It's just so weird to me.
Men feel more comfortable being in control. And they do in the home, and they do in politics, and there's a lot of hope that that's going to change. But just like in a domestic abuse dynamic that's escalating, hope is not really going to work, in my opinion. And it really is just getting worse, and it's really just going to get worse. And yes, Joe Biden is probably better than Donald Trump, but it's just really like this back and forth male win looping dynamic with women who all on either team who really just believe their team of guys is going to win,
right?
But they don't really realize that the guys really aren't concerned about the chicks as much as winning themselves. And
isn't that always the case?
That's just like it is in a single domestic abuse dynamic where constant escalating chaos is generated, and it gets dumber and weirder because it has to, because you have to keep generating all this chaos, but the real issue gets left far behind because it's like a rolling effect where it's like, well, this happened, so we have to say this now. So the conflict is about this instead of what it was like,
Right. We certainly saw that in the 4 years of having this incredibly abusive man as a president. It got stupider and dumber and more ridiculous until the end, when people are actually, marching on breaking things and like physically like
that was
being
just
violent.
like the male proxy behavior, just like a woman who's
and
in
then
her
it builds
home
up to
trying to do
and
something.
it builds up to the eventual abuse, the actual
Now it's like
manifestation of abuse.
armed guys are involved.
Right. So Holly,
instead of
because of time, because I know you're at your friend's store, and I don't want to go too past the time to be respectful to your friend, from when she has to close. But I definitely want to ask you questions, more kind of broad questions that I really just am kind of fascinated to hear your intake on, because you've come up with this dynamic that nobody's talking about. But I'd like to know really, like, what is sort of your idea of feminism, and what do you define feminism as, and what does it mean to you?
All right, feminism to me is, and I know I'm going to say things that are kind of controversial, but this is also because of the algorithm that I have, is, to me, feminism is dependent on guys, because you don't have feminism unless guys are provoking women so much that they have to organize as sort of a team to confront it. And I see feminism as just another team that men like to fight, and it will never lead to anything like a solution, because men want to win against it. It's not, and I believe it started as a well-meaning movement, and I'm not against it, but I don't think it can help solve anything, because men really, on both sides, see it as something, as an adversarial, either an attack on them or just something to fight, So I don't call myself a feminist, because I'm not fighting a fight or playing a game. I just hacked guys, as a hacker. And I know
I love that, Holly. I hacked guys. That needs to be like a quote or a meme. I hacked guys.
I'm a hacker and I hacked guys. And that's just the way it is. And that's why I know what's wrong with GPT-3, the algorithms used in the new artificial intelligence. And I can, like, if you give me, like, I don't know, a paragraph of a guy's like talk, I can pretty much tell what he's doing. I mean, it's sort of like reading minds in a weird way, because
it is, in this political environment, they do all seem to behave the same. Once I read your tweets, and once I actually like understood this algorithm and what you were talking about, I kept the same thing, seeing it play out in every conversation on Facebook or whatever. It's a guy trying to win on another guy. It's every
and it will
time,
escalate.
It escalates, exactly. It escalates.
It keeps going.
Right,
it keeps going until the guy goes, oh, it keeps going till the guy really understands he's losing, and he goes like, I don't have time for this, or I have to, how can I get out of this without sounding like I'm losing, because I know I'm losing.
Right.
And it just, but it will go on. I have literally examples of this where 30 or 40 conversational elements happen after the guy's lost, and it will keep going, and it just gets further and further away from the real point. And you just notice the guy isn't making any points. It's not like debating. It's just abuse. And it's once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's what happened. I was about to say that. Once I saw the pattern, I couldn't. And that's why I thought it was so worth having this conversation. But also another broad question sort of I wanted to ask you about, because I've always had my own ideas about gender. And I always sort of in my mind go, is gender like a real thing, or did we just invent all this stuff about like women like pink and boys like blue? And so I was kind of wondering if I could, get your take on, is gender real, and what is gender, and just what do you think of gender?
I think that there are biologically dictated ideation patterns in both sexes that are pretty much dictating a lot of the behavior we see, where I just believe there's biologically dictated ideation that guys have, and newer research about the difference between the sexes pretty much backs me up. And it's not fun to talk about, and it's not nice, but when I can like reverse engineer actual male patterns of conversation out of what we all see around us that says something. And I also, I think that there is definitely biologically dictated ideation that we're dealing with, as well as sort of culturally approved things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one thing is, okay, I'll say this because this is actually something that I found out within the past like 5 years or something, that the density of taste buds on a person's tongue relates to whether they're conservative or more liberal. And
wait, what? The density of taste
crazy. You
buds.
can Google it. You can Google it. You can
really?
Google it. This is a study where they found that the density of the taste buds on your tongue relates to whether you're conservative or liberal. Conservative.
I must have a lot of taste buds. Is more taste buds liberal?
I can't remember. I think it's like more taste buds means you're conservative than less. Like,
oh shit.
Like you're so like, and I don't know why that is. It's sort of counterintuitive, but I believe remembering it is that the denser your taste bud numbers are on your tongue, the more conservative you are. I could be wrong on that, but I'd have.
Okay, I don't know.
But you can
look
Google
it up,
that.
guys. Google it. Check it out. That's pretty interesting. I've never heard that before. That the taste buds have. It's funny because there are things. There are physical things that determine. Certain things. I mean, I've heard that. I don't know how if we have time to really. We're like 3 minutes till the store closes. So
15 more minutes.
15 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I know that they've done experiments where like they have primates and then they'll like monkeys and then they'll put like a doll and a toy truck, and the boy monkey will like instinctively go to the toy truck and the girl monkey will take the doll. And so I do think gender has definitely some biological elements to it, but then there's this performative element of gender in our society where I think it's largely something cultural, as you said, like something that we just kind of made up.
That's true, but it has to come from somewhere. And it's just, that's the way it is it comes from somewhere and it's accepted for certain reasons because of biologically dictated likes and dislikes. None of this, in many things, or at least many things in this case, are sort of messy. Like the dynamic I talk about with the male and female proxies in the Republican and the Democrat parties, nested inside that is the fact that, like, even though Black men are included in the female proxy Democrat Party more than they are in the Republican Party, Black men really haven't been proven to treat women better than white guys. And so it's almost like rock.
Well, I think that just speaks to the fact that they're men. All men.
It does.
Sort of,
that's what I'm saying.
That's all men sort of behave the same, I think.
Yeah, but it's like, so you can't just go BLM or like it's and
what do you
like becomes this thing about Black men get treated bad by white men, so they're better than white men, or they're victimized by white men, but Black men don't necessarily treat women better, and it's just sort of a way for Black men and white men to fight because they're basically the most dominant men on the planet, And
well, I think white men are a lot more dominant than
they are,
Black.
But
they
Black
own
men are also very dominant, and that's why we have BLM and things like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But BLM was started and founded by actually a female, a lesbian.
That's cool, but it's a woman who's like sort of maybe doesn't see that Black men are not that great to women sometimes.
Well, I think all men, I think like when we notice like that it's Black men or it's this kind of man, it's like, that's more focusing on the race. Whereas like, it's
race and sex.
It's kind of like it's just kind of like all men, you know what I mean? And when I look at like crime, for example, you know what I mean? Like men across the board are so much more involved in violent crime. It's like, you can't deny that. It's like
People do.
99%.
People do all the time.
How could people deny that? I mean, it's such common sense.
Because it's gaming. Because it's gaming. It's like, you don't have to necessarily believe what you're saying when you're gaming. You just want to win. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, I'm a guy and I'm just going to say like women are equally as violent as men, or women abuse men in domestic abuse. I just had this guy do it like a week ago, like saying, and he was using studies from 1977 and 1985, which is a joke, but it was just like, he was like, women abuse men in domestic abuse situations and men don't say anything because they're too embarrassed, or they don't want to say anything, or the cops don't pay any attention to them. And that is, if that were true, I think we'd see more women being violent in public as well, which we don't. We just don't.
You know, women just don't. Women don't rape and do all this crazy
but men
stuff.
will constantly tell me that women are just as violent or more so. Like, I've had that happen where women are more violent.
And that being said, right? Like, that being said, the fact that women are less violent and just by nature, seem to be more, we'll talk something out. Why the hell haven't we had a woman leader? I mean, that's like, to me, it's like we're working almost against ourselves as, a people to not have a leader that would be like that, because all these wars that have been fought and all these people that have died, it's because of men. You know what I mean? It's mostly men that make that decision.
The war issue is a gaming issue, and that's all male team thought paradigm. And I call it MTTP. And that's where you get a lot of the win looping coming into, because men generally think of themselves on a team against women. Women don't go around going like I'm on a team against men, unless they're kind of driven to it because men provoke them. We like men. We want to be with them. I mean, that's the whole thing, is we want to be in politics. We want to be in sports. We want to do things with guys, but guys have been established as not really wanting women in certain areas like corporations and different things. I mean, that's just,
it's always a boys club. It's all these.
I mean, locker room, boys club, this and that. It's all male team thought paradigm, in the public sense, and also in the private sense, like in homes.
So Holly, I have to ask you, what's the solution? Do we kill all the men? What do we do? How do we fix this?
What has to be done is that the tactics and the gaming tactics have to become more known, and these are not being talked about. And there's a standardized abuse array of different tactics that men use to shut women down, like that win looping effect that I tell you about, where it just like turns into this escalating conversation about like, I win, you lose, I win, you lose, I win, like with no points being made except like I know what's going on and you don't, or something like that. It's just a very, the solution is people have to recognize the standardized abuse array of tactics used by men and women who have pathological male approval problems to win. Say for a really good example is something that I've seen Andrew Cuomo, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden do, which is what I call saving the truth for when you're lying, which is like Donald Trump going like, I want nothing, or Andrew Cuomo, I have no agenda. He said that. Or Joe Biden, I wasn't pressured to have I can't remember if it was a female or black woman as vice president. And it's sort of this tactic, like where a guy will tell you what he's doing by acting like he's not doing it. And that's one of the things that happens quite often. That's kind of a standout tactic. But there's all sorts of the whole thing about like this escalating chaos that just keeps escalating and accelerating and compounded. You can't get rid of it with hope. I mean, it really, there are certain tactics that have to become more well-known, which will disable the actual dynamic. You can't disable this dynamic by a team winning because the other team's just going to try winning after that. Like we're seeing, it's like, well, Trump's out of office, but we're still going to fight over it, or, it's not, there's an endless gaming paradigm going on between the men on both sides. And do I like saying something that no one else believes in and it kind of goes against conventional wisdom? No. But like I said, I have an algorithm that describes all this, and boop-a-doop, that's like what happens. Like, and
well, Holly, I would have to say you certainly hacked men, as you said. I think it's genius.
I hacked men. I
think it's such an accurate. This algorithm that you describe is so pervasive and easy to see when people open their eyes. And it's interesting to hear that the solution is to see it. It sounds like.
Yeah, you can't. That's a hacking job.
The only way you can stop it, because it is. You're right. It's still going on. The fact, like Biden won, and people are still fighting. It doesn't. We thought we'd stop fighting, but it's like people are still fighting. So But so Holly, thank you so much for doing this. I actually had Googled interviews. I was trying to find interviews with you and you're a very sort of elusive character. You're like, Michael Jackson, you do very few interviews. So I'm so
No one wanted to interview me. I would do any interviews.
You would?
No one wanted to interview me.
Oh gosh, you were like top on my list. You were top on my list of all my Facebook to interview.
No, but let me tell you what happened is, because I went topless, everyone thought, you just want attention. You're just this old lady who doesn't know anything, and that's all, you're desperate and you have to do that. So no one wanted to talk to me because they already thought I knew what I was. They already thought I knew. They knew that I just wanted attention. Not that I had anything to say. I didn't have anything I learned from going topless.
Well, I thought to be honest, I thought your topless performance, I'm going to call it, with the mustache was in fact performance art. I thought of you as a performance artist. I thought when I saw you, I thought that's very, that's just brilliant. I thought, and it was
just a character. I don't like saying performance art because that kind of sticks it in with this like artists or female proxies and stuff. And it really was just a character that was just like this, like I got my dad's tits, it was just like this like guy who, it doesn't make sense. It's just like this funny mishmash of like character.
It was such a character though, Holly. Like it stood out so much. I would never forget seeing on like the New York Daily News, you on the cover with your mustache and top. I mean, so brilliant. It's so iconic. And I'm, I told you I'm an artist. I meant to do your artwork for this, but of course I'm always a procrastinator, so I didn't get it done. But by the time I edit this, I will have an artwork.
Oh, sick. Nice.
Okay. And I want to say thank you to your friend, whose store, can we say hello to your friend?
Yeah. You want to see Amanda?
Yeah. Hi.
That's Amanda.
How are you? Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. And can we mention your store in New York where we can tell people to go and visit?
Let her. She's my biggest fan.
I know. I'm her biggest fan. She's in Schenectady and Florida, but this is the Schenectady branch. It's called Bear and Bird, and she has original artwork from the commercial art era, like illustration, original art, and also like the most fantastic collection of like Japanese toys and different books and like some small clothing items like socks and things. But it's really colorful and modern. Like what do they call the gachapons or something? The like little toys where you don't know what you're gonna get in the box, till you open it, things like that. It's just really cool.
Well, that's so awesome. Say again the name of your store in the city here. Come on, hun. You can come on in.
Hi.
Aaron Bird.
Aaron Bird.
Schenectady.
Aaron Bird. Yeah. And what town is it in?
Schenectady.
Schenectady,
New York.
Schenectady, New York.
You got it.
That's where my family's been here since 1699, and my great grandfather was mayor twice.
Wait a minute, your family's been there since 1699?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Legit.
That's amazing, Holly. That's legit.
Yeah.
There's a street name with her last name on it.
Yeah, there's Van Voast and Schenectady.
For real.
Crossroads, Van Voast, and Schenectady in Schenectady, which I love.
I thought Van Voast was your character name. I didn't even know that was your real last name. I thought that was like.
That's a real Dutch name.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, Harvey Van Toast. The character I did was Harvey Van
somebody's
Toast.
at my door. Hold on, somebody's at my
okay.
door. Just a second.
Will he edit this out?
I don't know. I hope not.
Do you have his name? I want to look up his other stuff he's done.
Oh, Lee, hold on. I'm working right now. Can I call you back? I'm working right now on the computer.
Great. I freaking love him.
I call you back. Okay. Okay, hold on. Holly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
A second. Hold on.
Take your time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Sorry. That's my neighbor. She's so sweet. I love my neighbor. She's so cool. But okay, so yeah, I forgot what we were saying.
Oh, just about this store. This store is a great store.
Okay.
Baron Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Baron Bird in Schenectady.
How do you spell that?
SCHENECTADY.
No, not Schenectady. I don't want to know how to spell that.
Oh,
That's
Baron Bird.
Mary Bird.
Like a bear, like.
Oh, Barry.
Bear.
Oh, okay.
And Bird.
Yeah, here.
Oh, wait, look.
Boom. Can you see it?
Oh, how cool. Let's see. Yeah, I can totally see it. Bring it closer even. What, like a little bit back. A little bit back. Okay, there. Cool. Bear and Bird. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
.com.
They have so many cool things. It's like if you want to buy presents for anyone or just buy treats for yourself, like they have so many cool things.
I like weird and cute stuff.
Okay, we're going to put the link, you guys, we're going to put the link down below in the description.
Oh,
so
good.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Baron Bird in Schenectady, New York.
Exactly.
Get over there.
You might see Holly.
Yeah, I'm here a lot with Amanda because I like hanging out here because I see colors here that never were in this town before. You know, it's just such a great place.
Well, I love that. I'll have to one day make it out to Schenectady, and I have to see the street that's named after your great-great-great-grandfather, I assume.
I don't know exactly who the street is named for, but it may have been my great-grandfather.
It would have been a man. Knowing what we've been, it would be in line with this discussion.
It's so cool. There's a cross street, Van Voast in Schenectady. I mean,
it's legit.
That's very cool. Very legit. Very old school. Keep it real. And I love, by the way, your toy machine sticker. I used to be a skateboarder. I don't skateboard as much anymore, but I do love that toy machine brand. They're great. They make great skateboards. So I saw that in the background.
And socks.
What's that? Where? In back of me?
Yeah, it's behind you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've been looking at that the whole time, and I was thinking, shout out to Toy Machine. All right. Well, thank you so much, Holly, and thank you to Baron Bird in Schenectady for hosting this interview, and thank you all for watching. Tune in soon for another episode of Sham Talks. We love you, Holly.
I love you too, Sham.
And we love you, Baron Bird. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. That was my episode of Sham Talks. Please stay tuned for more interesting discussions with a whole interesting group of people. Okay. I've got really exciting guests lined up. I've been emailing all kinds of people, and whoever will talk to me, I'll talk. That's what the show's about. I like to talk. I'm sure you do too. In these times when we're socially distant, we may as well keep the communication going. Okay, that's what I'm all about here at Sham Talks. Bye.